Hey, hello, this is Bob Jackson. I am your course instructor for WC 402 Sustainability. I want to apologize right from the start here that I am making a video lesson that is not going to have me in it. I can just screen share right now. My camera is not working on this laptop. However, I want to get the video lesson made so we can get this course rolling. My future videos for each of the other weeks, I hope that I will be working with a camera. The camera on this laptop's given me problems the last few times I've tried to use it. Now it's just not working. I do have a camera that I can plug in by USB that it's just not with me right now. So in the future, I will have that fixed and we'll be using that. However, this time I'll just be screen sharing my content in which I'll be showing you first a little bit of information about things on the Canvas course for WC 402, and then I'll go into my week one lecture in which I have a PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so welcome to WC 402 Sustainability. I look forward to working with you, and I think we'll cover some really good content and hopefully get all of you engaged in the content. Okay, so if you take a look at the course here, when you go to the course on Canvas, you should take a look at, and I'm not going to go through everything, I'm just going to kind of show you where stuff is. Take a look at my course syllabus. For the most part, it gives pretty much a rundown of all the assignments and major activities and two projects that you will do in the course, and has the due dates and information. You'll have two exams, one the fourth week and one the eighth week. All of that is on that course syllabus. So if you take a look at that and have questions, please let me know. I do recommend that you open it up and download it. I don't particularly like this view here on Canvas because it leaves too much out. Okay. If you go to the course modules, okay, the course is set up in modules. I'm going to collapse all my modules here just to show you. This is for the 8-week course, and I do have it all set up. However, I just have them open a week at a time. So toward the end of week one, Friday or Saturday, I will open up week two and do that through the term. There will be a few things I'll add to the modules as we move along, but for the most part, I have all the content in the modules already. Okay, so now then, if you go to welcome to class, begin here. Here's information where, like here on this page, I have a course overview, kind of gives you an overview of course objectives and expectations and content that hope to get taught and covered in the course. Okay, so that was the class or course overview. Information about me is on this page, okay, along with contact information. Okay, as far as contacting me, you can contact me through email. You can call me. The first number there is actually my office phone number. That's only good to get me during office hours, although I'm usually there from 7:30, 8 o'clock. I get to St. Mary of the Woods College, and I'm there till 5 to 6 o'clock most days. I do teach some on-campus classes on or between Monday and Thursday, and I'm pretty much in class from 8 to 9:30 a.m. each day. And outside of that time, I should be in my office. You can also text me on my cell phone if you wish, or you can even call me. I don't care. Okay, going back out to the modules. Okay, the textbook for the course, you don't have to buy a textbook for this course. I do not make my students buy textbooks. I use free open education resources. So that's where we'll be using this environmental science 101 text that's on LibreText. Okay, so this is a link to it here. And then in each of the weeks, I'll have you a link to a specific um, chapter um, in this online textbook. So you don't have to buy textbook. You should use that for all of the study questions and work that we'll be doing in the class as far as that goes. Okay, I don't the class question board there. I don't use that. In fact, I'm on publish it right now um, because it does not notify me. Um, I want it to note. I like being notified by text and stuff like that where I know I'm getting it. Whereas if you use that class question board, I'm I don't look at it. And I'm not getting it. Everything else that we do, like even when you turn in an assignment, it sends me a notification on email, and I like that. Um, so that won't be open for your use there. Okay. So anyway, you'll want to take a look at the course syllabus and then the welcome to class materials there. Otherwise, we're going to kind of get started on course content here, um, which we'll start with week one. And I'll kind of give you a talk down through each a module on how I have stuff set up so you can find stuff. Okay, I always have an overview and to-do list. Okay, in each week, in which I try to list out absolutely all the assignments and activities or projects that you'll be working on in the course on that to-do list. Actually, right here, you see it says, please begin by watching the video lesson below. This video that I'm doing right now will be posted right there. Then in each one of the other weeks, you will have a video lesson posted there on the overview and to-do list. Okay, so that should be the first thing that you do as you move from one module to the next module. Okay, is take a look at my video lesson. Okay, you're not seeing it there yet because I'm making it right now. Okay, so now you'll have the to-do list in each module. Okay, down from the to-do list, you're going to have the PowerPoint presentation that I will cover in my video lesson. Okay, there'll be one for each week. Okay, but this is just the PowerPoint. It won't be video, and it's something you go back to for reviewing for your exams. Okay, underneath it, I always put in good online videos. Most of them are on YouTube that are in relation to the content we're covering. So if you want a really good resource for the content that we're covering in a given week, then you can go here to some of these videos, which if you click on them, you'll see there is a video to go to. Some of them you have to click on it twice there to get onto the site. So then this is a video on sustainability, in which we're covering in the first module. Okay, so now then, so there could be two or three, or I could have five or six of them, whatever I felt like putting in, felt were good resources that I could be putting in for the content. They're not required. I'm not going to test you on them or anything like that. It's just good resources. Okay, that can help you with the content that we're doing. Okay, then below those, which I say those are all in resources for learning. Okay, so any of the resources for learning helps you with the assignments. Okay, each week you will have a set of study questions to do. Okay, usually there's anywhere from 15 to 20 questions at the most. Um, that you'll answer. I prefer that you answer in your own words, and I prefer that you use the textbook that I'm got you connected with, rather than just Googling them all. Sometimes you Google them and you kind of get them. Not that they're totally wrong answers, but sometimes they're off base just a little bit. Um, so I do prefer that you use the textbook as a resource and some of the videos that I have posted under the resources for learning to answer the questions. And then each week, with this being an online course, we're supposed to put a discussion piece in. I don't get into really making you post to the discussion board and then look at each other's um, post and require you to reply to two other students or anything like that. I do not do that. Each week, I'm gonna have you make a post, and all of you can see each other. So I'd hope you'd kind of take a look at them. But I'm not into requiring students to reply to other students' posts and then grade you on that basis. Um, I know life gets busy enough the way it is, and it also creates too much for me to really look at. And I do try to look at all content that you turn in. Okay, so there'll just be one discussion each week. So you see the one for this week is actually for you to discuss your dream place and where you'd someplace you'd like to go. Hopefully in the great outdoors. I'm all about being in the great outdoors and going to some of our national parks and wilderness areas and stuff like that. My wife likes the beaches and islands and stuff like that. So, and then at the end of each module, you'll see there's a wrap up and looking ahead. That's just kind of opposite of the to-do list. You'll see it's pretty much the to-do list saying these are the things this week you should have done. And then it tells you what we're headed to next week. So if you just kind of look at those for each of the modules, then it kind of keeps you on course to the work that you should be doing in this course. Okay. Okay. And that's kind of an overview of what I expect you to do in the course. Now, what I want to do is do the first lecture. I hope to make it just a little bit engaging and um, not overly boring. But I will go through the essential content. Okay, so this first unit is just kind of introduction to what the course is all about and what we um, what we mean by sustainability and tying it together with some environmental science concepts. Okay, so anyway, that's kind of what it is, and we're going to get into um, talking about social aspects. We're going to get into talking about our environment, how we need to be taking better care of our environment. I get so tired of um, driving down our roads, just like I today coming across I-70. The amount of trash that we see on the roads anymore. It just so it's just so disappointing how we don't take care of our environment like we should. But you can go to other places in the world um, that you don't see the trash. Um, I go to Alaska actually each summer, and you can drive around most places. You don't see that much trash. Now you get in and around Anchorage, yeah, you'll see more. Um, you go to Wyoming, you go to Montana, you go to um, away from the cities in Colorado and get up around Rocky Mountain National Park, stuff like you don't see that much trash, and the people really do take care of the environment so much better. Um, but you can also go to some of the different countries in the world and see that they seem to take care of things a whole lot more, and it comes from like I'm saying trash and the way we dispose of it, and it also other pollutants and so forth that we don't dump in our waterways that we need to become more aware of. So there are social and behavioral issues here, and also economic. I know we don't get a lot of the trash and stuff picked up along the highways because of the economics of the whole dang thing, and paying to have it done. So we'll get to talk some of that stuff. Okay, but first, um, we're going into environmental science. Okay, and some of you may have had a AP environmental science, which a lot of them will call APES course in high school, and you may have had a lot of this content before. Okay, so environmental science, I think all students should have, particularly in high school, to just get us more aware of the world around us and how we need to take care of it. However, environmental science integrates so many different subjects. I mean, from biology and chemistry, geography, geology, oceanography, uh, uh, climate, and atmospheric sciences is all tied into environmental science. You can't do much in environmental science or go far in the studies in environmental science without getting into all those subjects. I mean, there's all kinds of chemistry going on, good and bad, in the environment. Things that we got to keep, like photosynthetic processes that take place in plants, and how we take care of and keep good healthy plants around home, and all. I mean, it takes study in biology. Okay, but it also takes studying chemistry for using some of the things that we use, and maybe shouldn't use, from talking herbicides and pesticides to fertilizers and stuff like that, all chemistry. Okay, then we had to really get into sustainability. Sustainability is the responsible management of not only natural resources, but planet Earth and the environment around us. We need the environment. The environment really needs us anymore. It's up to us to take care of it, wherever you're at. And sustainability is a way that we ensure that our kids, our grandkids, and future generations have a good earth and a good environment to live in. There have been civilizations in the past that have overused their resources in their areas, and that is what has done away with those civilizations. I mean, there's time and again it's happened in history. Okay, there are three categories of environmental issues. One of the main categories that is a developing problem, big time, is the world population. Okay, there's a neat world population clock that you can take a look at. This link takes you to it, in which you see um, the current world population. Okay, and in which you're at 8.225 billion people in the world. Okay, but what's neat about this website is can take you into, you can drill into the data so deep. Okay, which is what's really interesting, is the fact India and China by far have the most people in the world. Okay, if you look there, you've got nearly nearly a third of the population of the world is in India and China. Okay, India has which India just recently in the last few years passed China in population. Okay, but each one of them are getting close to 1.5 billion people just in their countries alone. Whereas in the United States, we're approaching 350 million people. That's a long ways from being 1.5 billion people. Okay, so that's kind of interesting. You can see the stack of at the current time, and the estimates of what the populations are in each one of them. Here's how our countries stack up. Okay, in populations, you can drill into each one of those. If you get into human demography and studies and stuff like that, like you can drill into India and and get more information. Okay. On the demographics of the population in India right there, and where they're looking at it, through the years from 1950 to 2025 and how the population's changed there and grown exponentially. Okay, and you can do that with each one of the countries. And we're not going to go into it a whole lot, but just like to show that to you. Okay. Let me get back to my PowerPoint. Okay. Now then, that that was one of the categories of main categories of environmental issues. Is the world population. We're putting huge demands on this planet for our resources, which resources include everything from food to products that we use, including wood, iron, aluminum, copper, all the materials that we need for ourselves to sustain our life and to provide us homes and automobiles and all, virtually all the things we use. Okay. The other issue is overuse and depletion of our actual natural resources. Okay. Now the gamut of those natural resources run from our fossil fuels that we use for vehicles, but then it also is food, and plants, wood, and like I said, like iron and copper and aluminum. And that's what drives a lot of prices of those types of metals and so forth, is the availability of them. And as availability goes down, the prices go up. Okay, so there's a whole study of the economics of all that. Okay, and then the other third category of environmental issues is damage caused by pollution. Okay, that endangers not only animals but also people. Air pollution. You take areas of the world where there's heavy industrialization in the past, you would see higher rates of lung problems, breathing problems, and even cancer rates. But then you also get everything like trying to think of the PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric, back in the I don't know, 60s, 70s, early 80s. It was found that by Aaron Brockovich, who became quite famous over it, and they made a movie on it, where chromium was in the water supplies. And they seen through those couple decades where people had very high rates of cancer. And that was due to pollution. Okay, actually, water pollution that came from PG&E, and it was the largest lawsuit of its type at that time, which the lawsuit took place in like the mid 1990s. However, we've got all kinds of water issues going on, pollution wise, that's both can be dangerous to us and also for those of us who like to go fishing. A lot of our fish, um, a lot of our fish and aquatic species have been harmed and hurt, and lakes are even dead in the world due to pollution caused by man. Okay, so these are issues you see all over the world. Okay, in some places are worse than others. Some countries are worse than others. Okay. Okay, in order to get more in tune and more apprised to environmental science and an understanding of the world around us and how we need this world for ourselves and also for wildlife, we need environmental literacy. And that's part of what this course is to make all the students within the course more environmentally literate. But we need it in all education. Okay, and the importance of taking care of our environment, and it needs to be taught through different means, and not just in a school classroom, but as a social manner, and requirements in cities, uh, all the way from recycling programs to responsible use of chemicals, everything from pesticides to herbicides and fertilizers. Because overuse of any and all of those can cause detrimental problems to both wildlife and people. So it takes literature being put out there and published and put in different forms in front of people to make them more environmentally literate. So environmental literacy is very important. Okay, now there are two terms that we kind of mix up maybe uh, when talking about um, environmental science and advocate for taking care of the environment, and that is environmentalism and environmentalist. Okay, an environmentalist is a person. Environmentalism is a movement. Okay, and it's a movement that's pushed forward by people. It is a movement that can become quite on political agendas, and you'll have a lot of your congressmen and others um, that will use an environmentalism movement on their political agenda. And then whether they carry through and get anything done in Congress or not can be another thing. But they certainly use it to get into office, and it seems to be a pretty big thing anymore. Okay, but just kind of remember that an environmentalist is a person. So it could be that congressman that's really advocating for taking care of the protecting the land in Wyoming, or protecting the land and keeping land out of um, the hands of industry in Alaska, which you've seen a lot of um, controversy of that through time, all the way back to when the oil pipeline was built in Alaska. So just know the difference. There is a difference. Environmentalism is a movement, and environmentalist is a person. That they could be advocating for environmentalism. Okay. Now then, we get into anthropogenic influences on the environment. Okay, anthropogenic is human. Okay, now there's all kinds of anthropogenic influences that happen on the environment through time. Okay, so as you're seeing here on this page here, you're seeing from fishing, where we had the commercial fishermen that can take literally thousands and thousands of fish out of the water each and every day in off the coast of well, anywhere around the United States for that matter. But you got an awful lot of your commercial fishermen and off of Maine and up around Alaska and out of the Seattle area. And of course, Canada has a lot of commercial fishing. Okay, so the overfishing um, really, has had impact through time. Okay, but it does also impact if you like to fish and go grouper fishing down in Florida, or tarpon fishing down in Florida, or like I've gone a few times now, halibut fishing and salmon fishing up in Alaska. There are limits on what you can catch. Like you can only catch two halibut. And then the salmon will vary by species. Like king salmon, you can only keep one. Sockeye salmon, you can keep several. Silver salmon, you can keep over a certain size. Okay, but those are all anthropogenic impacts on those environments by overharvesting fish, and then we have laws that are put in place, hunting and fishing laws that make it so you got a bag limit. Okay, deforestation, as you see, you've got a timber being cut there and loaded out, or it's been cut and it's getting loaded out. To farming today, We have such big equipment we use in farming today. I come up working on a farm as a kid, and for the last 40 years or so, we've had very large equipment and very efficient equipment at that on the farm. However, we are putting much more impact on the earth. Some farmers are farming 10, 12,000 acres in Indiana and Illinois. Okay, and that's quite large compared to the small farmers of 100 years ago that most never even had 100 acres. Okay, so there's a lot more impact um, and a lot more demands on the land because of the harvest we're doing. Like they're getting well over 200 bushel an acre corn off crops now. But however, that puts demand on the land. Okay. To raising cattle, chicken. I got deer there for deer hunting. You got bag limits on them, of course, and that will change too, like the number of does you can take, um, or small bucks. Um, and those bag limits have a reason. Okay. And it's where we do watch the population of the deer through time. We do need hunting season on deer. Otherwise, if they get overpopulated, disease spreads, and then you also have their impact on the woodlands and the way they gobble everything up. Okay. But I think that's kind of it. And of course, we have demands, anthropogenic demands on the environment for any of the fruits and vegetables and so forth that we get from the environment. Other anthropogenic influences on the environment, you can talk um, any of the pollutions, okay? Whether it's coming from these are power plants here to water pollution coming from industry, coming from residential areas, from sewers, from septic tanks. Um, or just straight people throwing their trash away. The landfills, we're using up huge and bigger and bigger pieces of land for our dumps, our landfills across this country. I mean, you go right outside every major city and you see a mountain typically that's where trash has all been covered up. It has huge impacts. Now, the regulations on those are quite different today than, say, 50, 60 years ago, because they pretty much put an impermeable layer below the dump. So a lot of that does not leach into our aquifers. And then they have to monitor that through time. Back 50, 60, 70 years ago, there wasn't much done on that. And you could add all the chemicals and so forth leaching into the aquifers. But then you get pollution from vehicles. Like here, you're even seeing smog in the air to oil spills. Okay, these are all examples of anthropogenic influences on the environment. Okay, other anthropogenic factors are here you're seeing the from the farming, you're just seeing use of talking land use here and how we've lost habitat. Like I said, you can have farms that are um, 10, 12,000 acres, and we've cleared a lot of like Illinois. You take the a good portion of the central part of Illinois, all the farmland back hundreds of years ago there was more forest, and we cleared the forest for farming. But it's the same thing in Indiana. Um, I remember as a kid clearing woodlands on a farm I worked on so we could make the fields larger. Okay, to our roadways uh, and the fancy roads we build today, and the huge interstates. Like you go down in Florida on each coast, the west coast and the east coast. The east coast by far was the worst start, but it's getting about as bad on the west coast of Florida. The amount of land that has been taken away just for the construction of the interstates. There are multiple lanes big, and just traffic moving along to building the huge bridges that we have. This is a Golden Gate Bridge. I just drove across the other day, the Sunshine Skyway Bridge near Tampa. but those all have had huge impacts on the environment in those estuaries and those bays as anthropogenic sources. Okay, now then the other thing we had to talk about are environmental ethics and worldviews. Okay, anytime you're talking ethics, you're talking a perception of right or wrong. Okay, and like some people, like I was talking, I hate seeing the trash and so forth along the roads. I see it as so wrong, and that's kind of an ethical factor of me, and on my own property and so forth, I don't trash it. And I pick up stuff, I clean stuff up. I try to have a good ethic about myself in the use of any chemicals. Or like I remember as a kid uh seeing ones, even my own family, that you change the oil in a vehicle, then you just take the oil out to the woods and you dump it along the woods, or you dump it on where you want to kill a bunch of weeds, or you dump it in the driveway. I remember on the farm would dump it down the edge of the drive, um, and kill the weeds in the rocks. But ethically, uh, that's not right because of where that goes. Those oils, those chemicals go down and leach down into soil, into the waterways. So you got to. We hope to develop good ethics within students and within people to why you don't do certain things, and it takes education. Okay, then you have environmental worldviews. The three main worldviews are anthropocentric, biocentric, or ecocentric. If you're anthropocentric, um, um, that's where it's centered on us humans. We are the center. This world is here for us, and we're going to use from it what we need for ourselves. Now, then we can spin that to where it's also our responsibility to take care of this world, so it takes care of future generations of us with good ethics behind your anthropocentric worldview. Biocentric, you're all about, and this is where a lot of your animal rights people will fit, okay, and anti-hunters and stuff like that, is they're all about the life, okay, both plants and animals. Okay, it's easier to get a lot of them more about the animals, but you're totally centered on life. Okay, and ecocentric worldview is a is all about the environment, and that is both plants, that's plants, animals, and non-living things, like the air we breathe, the water we drink, the minerals, the all the things in the environment that plants need to grow, all the things in the environment that animals need to live, including us. Okay, so an ecocentric worldview is starting with and having it focused totally on essentially the whole biosphere of the earth, but everything that goes on within it. Okay, from the atmosphere to the water, surface waters to ground waters. Okay, and take care of it to your cycles, your nitrogen cycle, your carbon cycle, and things like that. They're absolutely needed by all living things. Okay. Okay. Sustainability. A sustainability worldview recognizes that we humans in society need resources from the environment. And life's not going to happen without it. We're not going to have anything without using resources from the environment. However, having a sustainable worldview is not overusing, and also taking care of and cleaning up and um, recycling, all those types of things fit within a sustainable worldview, okay, and what we call sustainability. Okay, a spaceship worldview is an anthropocentric worldview. It focuses on sustaining natural resources for people. Okay, and we're like controlling this spaceship that we're on called Earth. Okay, and a lot of people refer to it as biosphere. Okay, and we have a lot of control. Okay, and we have a lot of responsibility. Okay, so we're essentially driving this ship. I know we can't control Mother Nature by all means. However, we do control the amount of pollution, the amount of resources we use, and what we do overall to the environment. Okay. Then ecological sustainability, if you refer to it as ecological sustainability, it is totally ecocentric. Okay. And that's where we're all about taking care of the environment for itself. Okay. And we want to stop all the things to prevent humans from degrading the environment more and more and more. Okay. Okay. Now then, I've already really kind of covered this. This is just more on ecological sustainability. Um, So some examples of environmental sustainability I have listed down here. Uh, Using renewable energies, and that's where you're seeing more and more, although there's controversies with those and some impacts some of the renewables have on the environment, like the big wind turbines or the wind turbines that are now off the coast and in the off the shores of some other different countries around the world, like Scotland has a lot of them, and the northern European countries have quite a few. Even England does. We're getting some off the east coast in the United States, but they, I mean, no doubt it's a renewable energy. However, there are impacts on the environment as a result of those being built where they are. Even the wind turbines up in northern Indiana have an impact on the environment around it. And you get some of the different groups, particularly um, migrating birds and so forth. And a lot of them will go out to the wind turbines and do bird counts on how many were killed and so forth. Uh, all your recycling programs, in which around here it's gotten tough because you get people to recycle and you take this stuff all in, and then it's gotten so expensive to do the recycling. And we're running out of places that can do that efficiently and particularly cost effectively. So that's where in a lot of areas, like where I live, there is no recycling um, in uh, Clark County, Illinois. Okay, but then there's other things which that are on sustainability issues is that you see coming about are people that don't use any herbicides or they don't use any fertilizers and have gone to organic farming or gardening. Okay, those are all examples of environmental sustainability. Okay, um, okay. Here's where we're going more into the impacts of humans on the environment. Okay, this is totally specifically humans and the major impacts we've had. There are two major controlling factors. That's the overall size of the human population. Now that varies from where you are in the world. Okay, like the human population in southern Illinois doesn't have near the impact on the local environment as, say, the population in the Chicago suburbs or downtown Chicago. Okay, that size of the population, undoubtedly in those areas, upper third um, of Illinois, has huge impact based on the size of the population. Okay, but then you not only just talk the size of the population, but you talk what's called the per capita environmental impact caused by humans. Okay, and this is where you get into a big difference as you go from one culture to another and from one country to another, because you you can take, and I've seen a change in even the way I do things from when I was a kid to now an adult, and I've raised kids and so forth. You choose how you live, okay, and how you live determines the amount of resources you use. The amount of resources that you use puts an environmental footprint out there in the world somewhere. Okay, so if you use a whole lot of, um, if you lose a whole lot of plastics, okay, that are, and you recycle, okay, that's not bad. But if you overuse, say, um, wood, okay, or any types of material from the environment around you. I mean, if you um, overuse the soil, one of the best one is if you overuse the soil, okay, and plant the garden year after year after year after year, and you never put manure or anything like that on it, okay, then that ground starts giving you less and less produce through the years. Okay. But your impact is based on the number of people in your family on that. Okay. That's per capita. Okay. And in the United States, the per capita per person environmental impact is actually pretty great. I mean, even if you look at the amount of water, water is one of the easiest ones actually for you to see. If you put a meter on the water and water use in your house per person in your house, how much water do they go through each day? Taking showers, washing hands, washing dishes, washing clothes. Okay. That is multiplied by the number of people in the house. Okay. Whereas people that are, or cultures that are more environmentally friendly, totally limit the amount of water that they use and don't take those 15-20 minute showers, or may not even shower every day. Okay. That's the way they reduce their per capita input. Okay. Our impact on the environment. But it's per person. And actually, us Americans have been known for being pretty needy, and our per capita impact on the environment is pretty good. And if you really get into it, it's also like gasoline in your car. How much of it you use by gas? Like I tell my wife, gas assing around. Or are you using a car that's a lot more environmentally friendly and is a hybrid or an electric car? Then that would somewhat reduce your per capita input. But uh, you got to realize most of those electric cars, the Teslas and so forth, have to be plugged in, getting energy that is pulled from a fossil fuel power plant. Okay. So it's kind of controversial how you can take a look at that, because you are putting demands, you're just not burning gasoline. Okay. Ecological footprints can be huge. Like, it's really easy to see environmental or ecological footprint of a place that they just built. Like if they build a new factory in town or a new industry or a new, even a restaurant. You can count up the number of acres that they tore up, built a building, put a parking lot around. That's easy to see that ecological footprint. However, um, it goes beyond that because the ecological footprint of a person and a business, and or you can talk a business, is also impacting areas beyond them, like where all the resources come from to build that building, where all the resources come from to sell the products they're selling or their food they're selling. Like they could be getting fish from Alaska. Okay, if they're selling halibut on the menu or salmon on the menu, come from Alaska. So at an ecological input or um, footprint in Alaska, even though that food's being ate in Indiana. Okay, you can buy seafood from Alaska anytime. You can buy seafood from Florida, uh, and that is a footprint to the environment away from you. Okay, and that's the way we operate. Okay, so now then here when we put all this together and I'm kind of explaining this on this one side of the here, what is an ecological footprint? Okay, that's where it goes beyond right where your house is sitting and the land around it. It goes from um, the resource that you use to the pollution that you're putting out there. Um, so then if you take a look around the world, okay, the countries, it might surprise you, the countries that have the biggest ecological footprint per person. Okay, and you see Qatar and Kuwait, um, and the United Arab countries, and this is where Dubai is. Okay, realize these countries here, they're pretty much a desert. Okay, there's very little resources that they have, or very few resources for particularly food, and most even wood and stuff like that, or iron, do not come from their own countries. So they have such a huge footprint ecologically because they're getting their resources from other places in the world. Okay, you see, the US isn't really that bad. We're right in the middle. Okay. Then down at the bottom is just taking a look at the African countries. And actually, most of the African countries have they're better at this than we are. They're pretty good about using their own resources. Okay. Now then, of course, all this comes about because of our large cities. Okay. And here's populations of some of our largest cities in 1860. Okay, and of course today they've uh, much more than this. Okay, and they have changed. Get it here. Oh, huh. I evidently didn't put it in, but I mean, New York City is the whole metropolitan area. Um, you take the entire greater New York City area, you're talking a few million people, okay, today. Okay, but you also have it in San Francisco and Los Angeles, Miami. Okay. Um, okay, now then, but if you take a look at the world's largest cities by population, the United States isn't near as big as some of the others, which you'll see pretty much, China, China and India, their cities by far and that's 32 million. Okay. Japan. Okay. Japan. Okay. And you see US is down here. Okay. Um, and I was low on the number. Saying this would be the whole New York City area to New Jersey. Uh, uh, but you're talking 20 million people in the overall area there. Okay. Now, here we're taking a look at urban sprawl. Okay. And our cities have gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and reaching out further and further. That's urban sprawl. Okay. What city are we looking at here? It's New York City. Okay. That entire area there, I mean, it's all concrete, it's all asphalt. And they've got, Central Park up there on out here. Um, but that's about the only real green space they got. Okay, left in that area for huge spans. All this area, all this out in here, it's all urban sprawl. Where we at? That's Chicago. Okay, where's this at? You're in California. Okay, that's San Francisco. Okay, there's Miami. Okay, huge urban sprawl. You take from Miami to Hollywood to Fort Lauderdale, Pompano Beach, on up to West Palm Beach. I mean, it's just there's hardly any, it's wide open green space at all left. From actually the top of the Florida Keys all the way up the East Coast to a good ways of Florida, you have very little land availability of that's not uh, urban sprawl of some sort. Okay, I do like it a little bit better on the west side of Florida. It's not quite as bad as that. Okay, here you're in Dallas, Seattle. Seattle's a big metropolitan area, huge. There's urban sprawl all along the um, Tacoma Bay area there. Um, and of course, you get on out east and towards Mount Rainier, it's pretty cool. And you can get outside of that city pretty quick. Okay, there's Denver uh, and your Rocky Mountains, which I love it back in there. Spend a lot of time in the Rockies. Okay, that's Indianapolis. Okay, there's Lucas Oil. Okay, now then here's some impacts, just kind of showing some shots of just some stuff, and I'll be wrapping this up. This is deforestation, and of course we did it in this country. In South America's getting really has gotten bad through the decades in the rainforest area, but just kind of showing you the land cleared for agriculture, and here you've got some burning going on. Of course, clearing the land. It's the way they've done it through decades and well hundreds of years of cutting forests down, burning it, and open up fields for farming. Okay. Okay. Now then, just kind of wrap things up here. Uh, we want sustainable development. Okay. We need for social development of people and society and nurturing going on in our communities that puts an emphasis on taking care of the world around them, the environment, the land. Okay. But we got to economically be able to do it. Okay. And that's where you can get into talking some things. We'll talk towards the end of this course where we need to give incentives to industries and businesses that when they build and they develop, that we will give them a tax credits or whatever other types of incentives that if they will do this for the environment, then they get this in return. I know even though it's a power plant, um, that's where Duke Energy and it was PSI in the beginning, Public Service Indiana, that they've done a whole lot of work and that's helped bring the Eagles back to Indiana. Okay, and then taking care of some of the land along the Wabash River up in Vermilion County. Okay, that's just an example I know, and been to the Eagle viewing days and so forth. But Eli Lilly's been good about doing some good environmental projects, and there are different companies out there that have. And that's the thing that we have to do economically is you got to make it feasible for both people and businesses that it doesn't cost an arm and a leg to do, or it doesn't cost the company millions and millions of dollars to stay good environmentally. Okay, it has to be incentivized. Okay, but we do need sustainable development, and that's what this whole course is about. And with that, I wrap this up. That's the first week. Have a good week. Thank you.